This was awful, Kyle.
This movie is very, very bad. I will say that the only saving grace for me was the singing.
One name means superstar in every language. Pavarotti. Yes, Giorgio.
Welcome to Kyle and Dave vs. the Machine, video edition, of course. This is where we do a video. Started that from the top here.
I thought you were going to start rapping or something. I can't, so I'm not going to.
Luciano Pavarotti is here to stay, and I like opera in a major way.
I'm keeping it in. You better send it to me.
Welcome to Kyle and Dave vs. the Machine, video edition. This week we are talking about the film, Yes, Giorgio, although film is maybe a strong word. We should just jump right into this. Dave, what did you think about the movie, Yes, Giorgio?
No, Giorgio. This was one of the worst things I've ever sat through. If it wasn't for $1 Million Duck, I would have turned it off, but Kyle gave me such a hard time about not watching a movie we have to review movie. This for me is worse. It's most upsetting because I actually liked Luciano Pavarotti, the larger-than-life first of three tenors. This was awful, Kyle. It was poorly written, poorly acted, it's misogynistic, it's racist. It has no overarching story, arc, or lesson, or anything. No narrative quality. And in the end, because we watched it digitally, I started even scrubbing the singing, which tells you a lot. I didn't even want to watch Pavarotti sing the classic arias. I couldn't handle it anymore. If you need a quick summary.
That's it.
I hate that I sat through this. I hate myself now, Kyle.
I also hated this movie. This movie is very, very bad. I will say that the only saving grace for me was the singing bits. I did not scrub through those. Probably would have just been a Pavarotti concert. It probably would have been a much better time for everyone involved. And Dave hated this movie so much that his camera actually broke.
If this looks weird, it's because my camera was like, please make this stop.
Stop talking about it. Yes, this is adapted from the source material that really just bears its name. Like, it doesn't really adapt it at all. But barring that, like, this is a failure on literally every single level. It has bad acting, bad camera direction, bad writing. What sucks the most is Mr. Schaffner, the director of this movie. It's not like he has not made good stuff in the past.
Yeah.
He understands how to use the camera. I am pretty sure he checked out after maybe Patton.
This guy made
some
Patton.
Other movie that he made.
I
don't get how you go from that to making this worse than made-for-TV movie from the 80s. Fundamentally, the main thrust of this is them basically handcuffing themselves because you make it be this story about a man who's married with kids, falling in love with this doctor in the States.
Female doctor. It's
without
important.
really making it sound like he hates his wife or is in a loveless marriage. It's just like, well, I'm here, so I might as well. I'll fall on the sword of wokeness here, but it just feels like the epitome of like Mayo egotistical narcissism spread across an hour and 40 minutes. The dialogue is awful. It's some of the worst things I've ever heard.
You are a thirsty plant. You need a can of water.
Take me to water you?
Please stop. Just don't watch this movie. The brief sort of synopsis is you have a larger-than-life opera singer who is an asshole, a prima donna, he's catered on, and that's what this movie's about. How everyone will fall head over heels over a guy with a great voice and literally subjugate themselves, whether it's sex, money, living quarters, or fucking whatever it is. He just gets whatever the fuck he wants, and that's what this movie turns out to be about. A little bit of backstory. It turns out that the person most directly responsible is this woman named Gladys Bagelman, who is the wife of one of the top executives at MGM. I'm convinced that whether they were having marital problems or not, this was meant to be.
Dave just makes up these wild stories.
I don't know if this is well, because follow me on this.
View.
This feels like someone wanted to have a private concert and access to Luciano Pavarotti, because it turns out Gladys was a huge opera fan, and they culled together all this very expensive footage. You should hear how much this movie cost.
$15 million.
$15 million. In 1982. And then they were like, we have all this movie footage for Gladys. Can we put them together into a shitty movie? And they could not.
I think that's maybe the most wild things. You absolutely could have had these like interstitial scenes of Pavarotti singing songs that he's most well known for singing, interspersed with some sort of story that stitched them together, but they couldn't even do that. This wants to be this epic love story that's for lovers or whatever the stupid thing is that shows up at the beginning of the movie, but it never really gets to that.
Doesn't earn it.
Especially the end, where it's like supposed to be this tragic like they have to say goodbye to each other and she has to walk away because their love is so grand. I'm like, you didn't earn this. It actually turned me so far against the movie as like kind of like fuck you movie. You didn't earn this romantic moment, this gesture. Even the songs that he's singing at the moment in the movie don't really make sense. They're just excuses for them to be sung instead of like, this is a resonant thing to be singing at this time. This was also nominated for Best Original Song. It's, you know, it's fine. The Hot Air Balloon is fine. It's bad. It's bad. Don't go and watch this movie. Don't watch it. Watch clips of it if you
don't watch clips.
Must,
don't
if
give
you
this.
Really hate yourself.
Do not give this any more attention than we're giving it.
Can you imagine someone at MGM right now is like, oh, the interest in Miss Giorgio has increased 1,500%. Let's get another one in the can, baby.
The negatives of this should be burned if they're not burned already, which apparently they're not, because this movie, of all movies available on DVD, which is fucking egregious, there's a section of this film where James Hong and a wife appear, and they're subservient to a fat fucker, and that's literally why they're in the movie, to show an old
really
Asian
just there
couple.
to be laughed at. It's such a weird thing to plop in the middle of this movie. It's like,
not
why
woke
is this
culture.
happening?
The whole thing
the
is
food
just
fight isn't
offensive.
fun. It's just like more violent than it is fun. Like, I don't
That
know.
scene,
Nothing about this
he
works.
looks
have to
like
stop
he's
talking about
going
this
to
movie, Dave.
murder her.
We can't talk about this anymore.
$15 million bucks. It made 2, so it's not woke culture. This is just a universally
wanted to see
understood.
this.
This is an awful thing. We're not offended by opera. Like, we love opera for what opera is. Opera singers should not be in musical theater. Maybe there's a difference. They definitely should not be in film because it's not transferable. It's not transferable.
It shouldn't be not being in film. You have to lean into their strengths if they're going to be put into a film. I think that's the biggest
The
thing.
strengths
They
are to
didn't
be
lean into
larger
Pavarotti's
than
strengths.
life. Belt shit out and do things with a human voice you're not supposed to be able to do.
I hate the fact we had to watch this movie, and I hate it. If people want to listen to
This
our
is
full
Kyle's
conversation, you can go to anywhere you listen to podcasts. You can listen to the full conversation we have over there. We even talk a little bit about Chinese deciding to change the ending of Fight Club, which is a fun little conversation. You can also subscribe to us here on YouTube to get these 2 videos each week. Watch some of our old videos and follow us along for 1982 as we go through a bunch of films that are iconic. Not this one. This
is what they needed.
Best forgotten.
A blackout screen, scrolling text saying everyone involved in this film was arrested by the police.
I have decided in my life to somehow have watched Yes, Giorgio before I've seen High and Low.
No.
So, I mean...
Oh, quickly, if you haven't seen Niagara, find it. Marilyn Monroe, Femme Fatale, fucking incredible. So, our latest segment this week in 1982. Are you ready, Kyle?
I am.
Last time we ended up with some tragedy, a lot of people dying in America with a bunch of accidents, which is depressing.
It's too bad this movie didn't die.
January 18th, the Thunderbird air demonstration crash.
Jesus. Why are we focusing on the death stuff, Dave? There had to be some other stuff that happened.
4 T-38s crash, 4 pilots all dead. Go 1982. January 27th, the Republic of Ireland. Actually, we don't really, not that important.
The Irish don't matter, Dave. Keep
It's
going
just
on.
about Garrett Fitzgerald government is defeated 82 to 81 on its budget.
All right.
January 28th, United States Army Brigadier General James L. Dozier is rescued by the Italian anti-terrorism Nucleo Operativo Centrale di Sicurezza after being held captive for 42 days by the Red Brigades. There are a lot of people involved that I have never heard of before. January 30th, first computer virus, the Elk cloner. It was written by a 15-year-old Rich Skrenta. It infects Apple II computers, but it had to be infected by floppy disks. You had to actually put a disk in computers.
I've been infected by a lot of floppies before.
I'm keeping it in, but that's gross. February 1st, Senegal and Gambia form a loose Senegambia Confederation. Late night David Letterman starts. Bill Murray, first guest. February 2nd, Hama massacre begins in Syria. February 3rd, he's purging Haran. Fuck, man. Should we stop there?
People love killing people.
Yeah, I mean, we are not versed in Syria.
What a downer for this episode, Dave. Like, shitty movie. All these people were killed by genocide.
Again,
but hey,
just like we talked about last
Letterman
week.
started in 82, so bazinga.
The world has always been shit, so you just gotta find fun things to do while it burns itself into the ground. One thing you should not do is watch Yes, Giorgio.
Good night, everyone.
All right.
Obviously, you don't hear me and I don't hear you. Life never has to be life-size.
Don't you come near me!